Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
From Apple Watch Series 1 to AirPods and Mario Run, it's Simon and Nick with a review special of Apple Slice. Plus, we pick up the pace with Nike watch ads and sample smooth moves using Touch Bar in Photoshop. So now in 2017, it's time to get keen for the perpetually edible Apple Slice. $262%. You did pretty good today, man. For anyone that doesn't realise, yes, I now have an Apple Watch, and Nick and I are tracking each other's activity. So, yeah, it's been going really well. Cheers for inviting me to see your stats.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. I've been building up the number of people I have on there, and it's pretty motivational, I will say.
Yeah, well, so far it's just you and me, so but I was actually quite surprised. There were a couple of days there that I think I actually did that little bit better than you, but as you said, you were having a lazy day, so
yeah, I was sick this week, so I'll take that.
Yeah, and of course there's New Year's Day and stuff, and but yeah, and then when you peel out like a 300%er, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to get there. So, but still, I've been completing the activity rings. Really looking forward to the new achievement for this month that they're offering if you get a perfect week from a Monday to Sunday. So, on track to do that. So it's definitely keeping up good motivation.
Yeah, just like 12 more hours of standing for me, really. Almost guaranteed to get the rest of the stuff. So it's just really the stand goal. As I mentioned to you, is my biggest challenge. But I'm quite looking forward to it. I realized the other day that Michelle has the Thanksgiving turkey, and I think she did one 5K in 2016, and it was definitely not on Thanksgiving Day, so I don't know how that happened, but she now has exclusive use of the Thanksgiving sticker and the activity iMessage app, which only opens or unlocks once you earn any of these special time-based achievements.
Yeah, it's funny because before when I wasn't part of the whole Apple Watch world, I sort of thought, oh, cool, badge, that's, sort of, I thought, oh, that's kind of cool, but how motivational can it be? And yeah, as soon as you're in it, you're kind of like, I got to have it. And you see this grid of achievements and all these different types that you can get, and you're like, yep, it definitely keeps you going. So this is a review special. It's the first episode of 2017. I'd like to start off with a shout out to our podcast friend, Review Culture. So Buddy, Dylan and Paul, and a couple of their other friends, they're a Brisbane-based podcast. They gave us Apple Slice, a bit of props in their last couple of episodes. So, yeah, if anyone who just wants a good pop culture podcast, they cover music, movies, games, and TV. It's just kind of like a real friends hanging around a table having beers scenario. Yeah, and they included us as part of their 3-point check and as part of their podcast of 2016 that they've been listening to. So that's pretty cool. So Review Culture there. Okay, we have absolutely packed this episode up, so we better get right into it. Product perception is the category we always start off with. So yes, I have a Apple Watch now, but I got the Series 1. So collectively between myself, Nick, and his partner, we've kind of covered all bases of Apple Watch so far.
Yeah.
Obviously apart from Edition. Yeah, almost. And I wear it left-handed as well. So on the right wrist, I had a couple of people ask me, oh, are you wearing it on the they sort of looked at it in photos and they thought I was wearing it on the wrong side. I'm like, I'm left-handed, so it all kind of makes sense. So, yeah, I've had it just for just over a week. As I said, it's on the right wrist. I got the Series 1 space grey with the black sport band. The nylon band isn't available for the Series 1, but you can always buy that as an extra. But, yeah, pretty happy so far with this black sport band.
Yeah, it's a really nice band that doesn't really wear easily. I guess to get a bit deep in the weeds here, we had quite a long discussion about Series 1 and Series 2 and the benefits of and drawbacks of getting one versus the other. So maybe it will be worthwhile you getting into, what led you to getting a Series 1 and why that, why you're happy with that one and why it's good for you.
Yeah, I initially always thought that Series 2 was going to be the way to go. For some reason, I wasn't 100% sure that the actual performance between the chips were the same because they had different names, but that's actually purely to the GPS factor in the Series 2, hence the different chip name. But yeah, Series 1 doesn't have a GPS. That's fine with me. I don't go on long hikes and areas that I'm going to really require it. It's splash resistant only. Again, that's fine with me. The only part where I'd come into any bit of the watch getting water on it is it can rain a lot where I live, especially during the winter. So just get that bit of rain on it. It's going to be fine. It doesn't have the water eject feature from the speaker. That was one of the bits I was most excited about, but you sort of pointed out to me that it's being an owner of a Series 2 that is actually not quite as exciting.
Yeah, it's a bit anticlimactic. It's cool. I think the sound the speaker makes is cooler than the actual ejection. So, by all means play the sound through some speakers, but, keep in mind the speaker hole is really tiny. So not a lot of water actually lives in that recess anyway. So you get this tiny little spurt of water on your arm here, and it's kind of like, well, okay.
It's kind of that's irritating, yeah.
Yeah, so
you need to put a little napkin under your watch or something. But so we're sort of discussing back and forth. One of the biggest parts for me was the fact that the Series 1 display is the same as the original watch. It's 450 nits. That is still a bright screen, but it's not the 1000 nits with the Series 2, which is the brightest Apple have ever produced. So I kind of wanted to gauge how much this would affect my decision in terms of outdoor use. And I just I guess the difference was I could get the Series 1 at that time, or I'd have to be waiting that bit longer to get the Series 2 because there is that price difference there. And I just sort of bit the bullet and I thought, I'll be going outside with it, but I don't, I'm not a super outdoorsy person. So I think that was the deciding factor there. And it's the same design, Series 1 as the original model. So it doesn't, Series 2 has slight differences. And it has the SP1 dual core processor, which was the biggest part of it. I definitely didn't want to buy an original. I wanted, this is based on obviously a lot of reviews and stuff that I read, and having used the original one in store versus a newer one, I was like, yeah, the newer one definitely does run that bit better.
It's way more snappy. The dual core processor makes a huge difference. I think that's been the most notable feature for me in Series 2.
Yes.
And GPS, but I use that probably more than you would. I think the really biggest decision-making factor when we were discussing it was the display. And it was kind of difficult for me to point you there because my original model is it has a sapphire display, which is less, I guess, like it reflects or refracts light more than the Iron X display, so it's not as good outdoors anyway. So it was kind of hard to get a baseline, or like say 350 to the 1000 that I'm on now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So went ahead and did it. Very excited. It arrived quite quickly. Ordered it through JB Hi-Fi. So it arrived in a package much in the shape of the actual box. So being a standard model, it comes in the skinny long packaging. I was absolutely blown away by the emboss and the varnish on it. Posted a photo and it actually looks like I photoshopped it. That's how good the bevel emboss was on it. Includes the charging puck with cable but no charger, which can be a downer for anyone that doesn't have a spare charger. But I guess the idea is you use your watch with your phone, so you could use your phone charger, but I have plenty of spares here, so that was fine. Or you could just plug it into your iMac, which I do as well. Okay, so the actual the feel of it and my band configuration. So I previously wasn't a watch user. I tried wearing watches in the past, but I found them annoying due to the right-hand mouse use. So I wear it on my right wrist. I'm left-handed, but I use mouse with the right hand. But I think that's a bit more to do with the fact that the watches I were wearing had were like made out of metal, and they had the constantly clacking against the desk or catching arm hairs and stuff like that. This sport band is perfect to not do that. It's really light, it's really smooth, doesn't catch any hairs on your arm. So I was really pleased with that. So how do I wear it? Well, the watch itself is actually upside down. So the digital crown is on the lower left side. I had to switch the band parts around to keep the short strap on the top, which I was just double checking with Nick. He's like, yep, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
And I actually used the shorter band option that comes with it, the small/medium, because my wrists are quite skinny, and I was able to use the normal strap length fine, but I found out, because the way the sport band goes and it slides through and under, I just had that bit of extra band there, and it was a bit annoying. So yeah, I use the shorter band. What's your setup for yours?
Yeah, I'm similar to you there. I also use the smaller band. I think is it small, medium, or medium?
Yeah, it says S/M on it.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's way better for. I'm definitely medium then, because I can wear the medium large, but it just snakes around far too much, like on the back end of my wrist. So
exactly, that was exact same boat there. And yeah, so being a non-watch user to now a watch user, it took around a day or two to get used to it. At the start, I kind of thought, I wasn't sure if I had it too tight and the next notch down was too loose, but definitely enough space there. It sits nicely. And yeah, as we said, sport bands, real smooth, feels nice. I am interested in the nylon, but the sport one's going real well at the moment. And it's really light. I know that and as you would know from personal experience, the stainless steel is heavier, from what I've heard. I mean, naturally it would be the materials. So do you notice a weight difference going from your stainless steel to your Nike?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a massive weight difference. I can barely notice wearing the Nike Plus One now, whereas the stainless steel has always felt like, but not bulky, but certainly weighty.
But does it feel more, say if you wore stainless steel to an event, would it feel more premium because it's like heavier?
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
I wear the stainless steel whenever I need to feel more premium, like for work purposes or events. It's certainly like it's a touch.
It matches the style. Yeah, definitely. I'm new to this. There's a learning curve. I was definitely concerned with how the performance would go, but I had a good feeling about it anyway. So yeah, the main complaint was that the original watch wasn't fast enough, and people were saying it was slow to open apps. And as you mentioned before, you're saying that yes, there's a definite difference there. So very happy to say that with watchOS 3 and this faster chip has been running really well. So the majority of the time, I'd say up in the 90-something%, it runs really smoothly. I think sometimes I might open something and try and try and scroll too quickly, and then it might delay a little bit. But that's mainly with stuff like Facebook Messenger. It's not quite as on the ball as the actual native apps with it. But things I have to learn to understand. So the use of the dock versus just the general apps that you can roll around on, which I love. I love that app interface, that spherical, like I'd always seen it, but actually using it, it's so smooth on this watch here. And it looks awesome.
Like the app home screen or the dock or both?
Just the app home screen. I just I'd seen the layout of it, obviously, for a long time since we've been talking about Apple Watch and stuff, but to actually use it and use it a lot in person, going obviously compared to the grid style that you would have on a phone or an iPad. I just love it. It's got this real smooth, like refreshed feel to it, and it's quite unique. It's certainly compared to other smart watches, they just have more of a circular dial and everything's quite flat. But yeah, I love the app interface there. I had to sort of learn when to use the crown versus when to actually swipe, or, which ones actually work better. I start off just swiping all the time because that's natural to me. But I've definitely been using the crown more and more. And then that means that you're sort of getting your fingerprints is less on the screen, which is good. And actually just getting back to the watch face, initially I was sort of getting a little bit confused, but didn't take me too long to just, a quick press of the crown and you're there. I had to stop double pressing the crown because I kept treating it like a home button, like I wanted to close apps.
Yeah.
And I had to actually ask you. I was like, how do you close apps? And you're like, it does it itself.
Yeah, I was fascinated by that. I think is probably the most accurate way to describe it. Mainly, so there's two reasons for that, because I don't close my apps on my iPhone, and I've never ever considered closing my apps on the watch. So for me, it was one thing oh, maybe what about all those people that close their iPhone apps now?
Dear God,
like
Nick.
this, like what's happening here? So basically, the whole reason that watchOS 3 is so much faster for even the original watch, and why the dock came to be, is that they overmanaged the RAM and for battery life, and then realized that no one was complaining about battery life, so they could open it up a bit more. And so all apps close in the background except for your dock ones, which run, and no matter what, it's those ones that stay in RAM. So if you want to save even more battery life, just don't have anything in the dock. But I think it still then has like a recently used thing that it keeps in there.
Yes, it does. That one sits there.
On the iPhone side, I know I did it when I had an iPhone 4, and then I kind of got lazy with it with my 5 and accepted bad battery life, and certainly since then just don't, I would say every 3 months I go through it, just when I feel my phone is slowing down. I just go close everything. But
that's so crazy to me, because I know that Craig Federighi personally said you don't need to be closing apps, but I've been doing it. I've been doing it for so long, and it still feels like having lots of tabs open or whatever on a desktop, and I do it all the time. I would close apps at least, I'll be running a few, and then before I put my phone down or go to just whatever, I will close the app. So I will literally do it at least 100 times a day.
Yes, and so many people do.
Seriously,
I almost I'm bewildered when people do it. I just think, you don't need to do it anymore. You don't need to do it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, it's very much a built-in action to me, so I have to kind of
I'm sure it's just habit.
Stop double-clicking the crown. Yeah. But good news is I'm pleased with the battery life. I naturally thought I'd be having to charge it each night, which is no problem to me. I do that with my phone anyway. And I'd been finishing on an average of 45 to 48%, although I say I look at it now and I'm actually on about 65, so it's doing really well at the moment. The display, the OLED, is fantastic. I love the impression of an edgeless display. I think that's more crucial for the watch and the look of it than, say, a phone. The fact that, unless you've got a photo background or something, I'm running the modular face at the moment, it literally just almost looks seamless, and I just love that. A few cases with the display in bright sun that I could have used the Series 2000 nets, but as I said, it was still visible, still usable, wasn't a complete deal breaker for me. But as we mentioned before, you were saying that with your Series 2 that you do notice that it is brighter, but because of the sapphire, it kind of isn't so extreme.
Oh no, it's more extreme. It's even more extreme. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think if you're outdoors, that's where you'll notice. But for a lot of people that are mainly indoors, your watch won't actually, if it's set to auto brightness, the only time it'll ever get to that high is outdoors. And I think even on its maximum non-auto brightness, it's not full 1000 nits, your watch.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a special use case. But I don't know. I've never really had a huge problem with it. So
yeah, it's as I said, it's only particularly bright days, being summer time anyway. Okay, so do I have favorite apps and what are my favorite uses for the watch? Well, messages, of course, and I use Facebook Messenger as well, but mainly iMessage. Love using dictation. I've used it more than ever on the watch. It feels far more natural to use dictation with a watch than it does holding your phone up to your face, if you'd agree.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Scribble is just super handy, just being able to sit there and kind of I can imagine just doing it, in the middle of a meeting or something, just a quick little reply. And when I show people it, they just think it's amazing. And I love that, showing a new technology, you know.
Yeah, when I show people that you can write like that on the watch, that there are two use cases that get such a reaction. It's Scribble and Apple Pay on the watch. I went to Blue Mountains and used Apple Pay at like a cafe. The woman was like blown away. She just couldn't believe, like she was telling everyone in the restaurant, like, that works there, he just paid with his watch. He just paid with his watch. It was crazy. So yeah, Scribble's also like that. They're like, are you writing a message?
I wish someone filmed it, man. That would have been awesome.
So when you do use Scribble, so one thing difference between series original and series 2 is that the original is fast with Scribble, but the first letter you write has a lag. It's like, oh, that's what you're doing. Okay, now I know what to do. And series 2 is like, okay, a little bit of a lag, not too much on the first letter, but then super speedy afterwards. And like when I first started using it, I would write one letter at a time, like so neatly and slowly wait for the little text to disappear and then start the next letter. Now I just realized you can just carry on writing as fast as you can.
I try and fit as many as I can in one go, like
like next
3
to
or
each
4
other.
letters. Yeah,
you can just write over each other.
I feel like, you know, when you're actually writing naturally, say if you write the word street and I might write STR and then that puts it in and then I'll do EET, like straight away on top of it.
Yeah.
So I'm doing like 3 and then 3 rather than 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love doing that. Like it definitely, you get this sort of rhythm going. Activity and workout. So that's obviously the biggest selling feature of Apple Watch. Now, I'm not a fitness guy, as people may know already, don't really play sport, but the motivation to complete the rings is strong, to the point that it got to about 10:30 at night and I still had 5 minutes exercise left. And I thought, well, I can't go for a short walk. I was literally doing star jumps in my room, just like, and it completed. I was like, yes. And yeah, the other night, actually last night, I specifically parked at my friend's house, went into town, and I was like, I'm not going to meet you at the pub. We're going to go to your house and we're going to walk down to the pub. Yeah. And yeah, just that little bit of, you know, making that extra effort to get a bit of exercise in, which is good. I was apprehensive of activity sharing at first, as Nick may know. Before I'd even properly set it up, he's like, I'm going to share activity with you. I'm like, oh man, you're going to absolutely whoop my butt. But yeah, and you know, you yourself being a long time watch user and generally doing more exercises, I noticed you're making good use of the Nike Run Club app there. Yeah, at first I was like, oh no, this is, I wasn't really sure how it'd go, but yeah, it's been really cool, and I like the fact that we can just send back and forth little messages of encouragement.
Oh, they're
and stuff.
awesome, and they change like all the time. So you know, one day it'll be like Shazam is the top option, and then it's like next day it's like I'm coming for you, and yeah, there's a good mixture between like quirky Siri type replies and then like actually motivational, well done kind of things. So that's always fun. Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely apprehensive at first, but I think maybe now getting a bit more into it, it's quite fun. So.
And I think, and I was quickly questioning you on the fact that the actual default kilojoules were different, and I thought that would have been based on height, weight, or something like that.
So in some countries, the default is not in kilojoules; it's in calories. So originally when I was in South Africa, it was in calories. And then when I moved here, it switched over to kilojoules. So I was kind of like very confused with how that was all going and just set it low. And then it's kind of mapped to my 30 minutes of exercise. So it's usually if I reach the one, I'll reach the other kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it was definitely interesting because I know when you're first setting it up and it's kind of like you're verifying your height and your weight and stuff like that.
Sorry, speaking of when you're first setting it up, I'm pretty sure that when the very first, like I've owned it basically since week 2, right? So I've had it for ages from WatchOS 1.0, and I'm pretty sure they didn't give an indicator of if you only exercise lightly or moderately or intensely. Whereas now I think they do give you a guideline. Yeah, I mean, it might be interesting to go back in and look at it. But definitely another part of all of this is as we said, the achievements medals that you get, just that bit of extra motivator. I mean,
I keep getting notified that you're on your longest streak. What is it now? 105 days, maybe 100.
Let me check. I'm gonna check. I'm on 105 days, killing it. But
yeah, boom.
So
that's awesome. And I've got my longest streak is, I don't know, since I had the watch. I've been filling them every day, but yeah.
My favorite achievement is the one you'll get tomorrow, which is basically, so you get like this 7 for when you complete your move goal Monday to Sunday, 7 for when you complete your exercise Monday to Sunday, and then for standing Monday to Sunday, and those are all separate.
Yes.
And then you get a combined one, which is like perfect week for all activity, which is, that's my favorite one by far. So I'm pretty...
That's the one with the 2017 in it, isn't it?
No, that's what you're, like, they linked. So basically it is the same thing, but this has always been around.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. That makes sense.
So yeah, you'll get both of them tomorrow, but that's my favorite.
Couple of other apps. I'm with Commonwealth. I have a love-hate relationship with Commonwealth. As you know, we've been talking about Apple Pay for a long time. So I've always loved the CommBank apps on iPhone, and it works well on the watch. It's just really handy to be able to just check account balances and stuff without having to, because you do that initial verification on your phone with it, and then you don't have to do it again. Obviously, I've got a passcode on my watch, so there's the bit of protection there, but you can't do transfers and stuff. It's purely checking balances, doing cardless cash and stuff like that. The Breathe app, that was a big part of WatchOS 3 presentation. I get prompted for it, a couple times a day, however many it is. And yeah, it prompted me already a few times when I really needed to use it. Like it was almost predicted it. It's like a particularly maybe say stressful situation, and Breathe popped up and I used it and it was awesome. Like I was just so happy with it, and I'm really glad that it exists. And just the gentle haptic feedback you get as you're doing it, that's pretty cool. And the camera control. So people, if they've seen on our Instagram and stuff, I took a few selfies a bit further away, just perched the camera on top of the light fitting and used camera control there. It's cool because you don't actually have to open the phone app first. The watch does it. So I thought that's pretty cool, but it'd be good to try it for a group photo. So those are the ones that I'm kind of using the most. What are your favorite apps?
Yeah, so probably like a few of my favorites are the Cricket Australia Live app, which I use to check cricket scores. I've used Domino's a couple of times to get some pizza, but I haven't used that in a while. I also really just like Messages. The built-in Messages app is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So good.
Yeah, it's amazing. I like Messages and Nike Run Club are probably my two standout favorite apps.
A cool one that I've got, I've only had to use it a little bit so far, but remember back when we reviewed Dashlane, the one that stores all your passwords credit card? Yeah, there's a little Dashlane watch app there. Super handy to just get a password and you can just copy it and then, and that sort of stuff. I didn't think that go as far as a watch app. So it's cool when you do that initial sync to see who actually has watch apps available. I deleted a few, like there was a Virgin Mobile one, but it looked a bit tacky and stuff. But yeah, it's cool to see Dashlane on there too. So yeah, watch faces. This one's a bit interesting. So I use the modular watch face the most. Use it for the time, date, weather, activity icon, put the messages one in there and the workout shortcut, which is great. Head out for your walk, just start the workout straight away from the watch face. Numerals, I really like the look of that. Combining obviously that digital number and then analog hands. I plan to use that more during events or maybe business meetings. It looks a bit classier. And I haven't used it much, but I love motion in the sense of I love the jellyfish. Like I reckon they're so mesmerizing. As I said, I won't use it often, but it's great to show people. And the fact that every time you raise your wrist or when you tap it, it changes the jellyfish. Same with the flowers and butterflies and stuff. And I really want a reptile one. If they release that with WatchOS 4, I'll be so stoked.
Is that like a one you just thought of, or is there a rumor about that? Because that sounds pretty cool, a bit specific.
I just thought of that. I'm a huge reptile fan, so
yeah,
and or maybe something like like an insect one with praying mantis on. I'd love that. Okay, so yeah, the reason I kind of like talking about these watch faces here is I didn't have it for long. And I kind of quizzed you about it, and you were straight up like, don't like digital watch faces.
Yep.
So you're a big analog fan.
Yeah, certainly. I have used I've used utility from the beginning.
Yep.
And then since WatchOS 3, I've only used the activity analog face. It's by far my favorite face. At a glance. So I've always had the share, like the rings, the activity rings as a complication, but now it's like a permanent complication. And then I get all the other features of the utility face, the top two complications, smaller ones in the left and right, and then a full complication at the bottom. So it basically then allowed me to have one extra complication. So I love the activity analog. I just way prefer analog watch faces. I don't know why.
I mean, I would agree in the sense that I love the look of them, but because I haven't been a watch wearer and it sounds kind of stupid in a sense, but it is that little bit faster for me to just read a digital time. Yeah. Like, because I'm literally like not having worn a watch much. You do kind of have to look at it, and then there's that little bit of delay to actually tell what the time is. Yeah. And that's purely actually the reason why I prefer the digital, but I love the look of analog. Yeah, definitely.
The numerals face is it. At first, I really didn't like it, but since I got the Nike Plus one, it looks so nice with the gray numeral, and it's like pretty plain, but yeah, it looks really nice. So often when I'll reach my goal, I just swap over into that watch face and use that for the rest of the day. But yeah, so
I just love how customizable all of these are, particularly like numerals and stuff. They give you several font options, full 20 different colors to choose from. It's awesome. Like, I'm really happy with the amount of customization they put into that, and the fact you can do it from the actual watch app on the phone. Yeah, that bit quicker too. So just to wrap this up, definitely a overall positive vibe going on here with the Apple Watch Series 1. This is coming from the left-handed co-host of Apple Slice. Just for any left-handers out there that are, feel like you don't get heard amongst this world full of right-handers. But
it's so funny because out of the people that I know with Apple Watches, like, two are left-handed and wear it on their right, so it's Well, one being Michelle, so I see that regularly, and she loves it. So
yeah, and you'd be totally used to seeing that all the time. Yep. So yeah, that's cool. Couple of little negatives with it. Facebook Messenger app needed reinstalling at the start to work, and Nick kind of prompted me to do that, and it worked. Messenger app has a bit of a dictation delay, but that seems to increase kind of like the further you are away from your phone. I don't know whether there's any sort of reasoning behind that.
I think it's like a Bluetooth thing, Bluetooth delay transmission.
Yeah, that makes sense. But mainly the main Messages app works a lot better than the Messenger app. It randomly restarted once. I was running the Jellyfish watch face. I don't know why it did it. Don't know whether the videos that it's running are that little bit resource intensive. Maybe I was tapping through too many. Hasn't happened since. So yeah, there you go. A few app crashes, but they reopened super quickly. It's not a drama. I haven't had any for a while now. I can definitely see why games aren't a strong aspect of smartwatches, which isn't a bad thing. If you'd have to play a game on a watch, you'd have to rest your arm on a table. I don't see how you could like hold your arm up for that long. You yourself said that you're not a games fan on the watch.
Yeah, I don't have any games installed. So there's a game called Lifeline that I think it's kind of like this weird kind of interface where you just like prompted some text and you can select from options, and that kind of decides the path of the game, which I thought would be useful on the watch, like just randomly tap whatever reply you think is worth it. But then I downloaded it on my phone, only played it on my phone for 5 minutes and never even looked at the watch app and never touched the app again. So that's my only attempt at playing a game on my smartwatch, and I never even got to it.
Yeah, I'm not overly interested in that part of it. really, I mean, the main thing for the watch, as you say, is it's a companion to your phone. It's for quick actions, quick glances. Obviously, the fitness part is a huge driver behind the sale of the watch. So yeah, and lastly, I wish that you could, if you deleted a message on your watch, you'd do it on your phone. I don't know whether that's an iMessage level thing overall.
Have you run into that like use case on your iPad and phone or your Mac and phone?
Well, the thing is, I don't use iMessage on anything else other than my phone. Yeah, I barely use it. I know that you can. I don't. I kind of just keep it all in one area. But yeah, it's not a big deal. Just sort of, you might have to do some double deletion, that sort of stuff. I'm one of those guys that deletes their messages. I don't keep the whole thread in there like a lot of other people do.
Right. So like you close your apps, I guess.
Yes. I just like everything's clean. Everything's, if I have a app icon that has a, like unread mail or anything, I have to clear it.
I'm the same with that. But like you use folders, and I haven't used folders in years.
I use fold. I helped out a lady today. She was doing an iOS 10 update, and it kind of got stuck halfway, and I got that working for her, and finally the update installed. Got the phone. I went to pass it over, and she had 30,000 unread emails. It was insane.
Did you twitch a little bit?
I almost dropped the phone. I was like that shocked. And
How do you know you've got a new one? How do you know?
Having that red bubble, having that surpass 1.5 app icon widths, you're in trouble. Like,
So one thing you haven't mentioned about the watch is ever using it to unlock your MacBook Pro.
Yes, I'm yet to try that.
Is that
so? That is next.
Have
thing.
you set it up?
No, I haven't. I've just been. I use the Touch ID for MacBook Pro all the time. So I kind of think that I'd be doing that more anyway. But I'd love to test it out.
And on your iMac?
Yeah, I haven't even got that far.
Yeah, you should definitely.
It's all still very new to me, but yeah, I'll definitely do it. And
One thing I have to just pre-warn you and anyone who tries to do this is you have to use two-factor. I think it's authentication, but then Apple used to have two-factor verification, which are two different things, which confused me so much. Well, it took me 20 minutes to realize that they're actually different. And set that up. So anyone who thinks they've got the right two-factor, but it says you need two-factor other kind, there's a difference.
There's two factors. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, we're going to switch it around completely. Very exciting. Didn't think we'd see them. AirPods came out in December. You got yourself a pair. I'm pretty sure you're the first one in Sydney to get them. Let us know about it. How are they?
As you say, I was first in line. I got to the Apple store at about 6 a.m. I was running a bit late. I planned on getting there a bit earlier. But I was first in line for about half an hour. And the guards kind of the security just looked at me. I don't know if they were expecting someone to be there so early. They just made a motion towards me and then kind of just let me be. So I felt uncomfortable for a bit. But I decided to start tweeting about it, as a joke. Really is kind of my sense of humor, just to be first in line for AirPods. And I don't think anyone was expecting a line really. So anyway, they ended up being a bit of a queue, and I was tweeting, I guess, the whole time. They were showing each other in store. One person showed someone else. I took a photo. People started asking me, am I sure they're going to have stock? And I'm well, no, I'm not sure. They just kind of said, next week. So I was well, surely that means Monday, because that was the first shipping day. And then it was started, I guess, it was pretty crazy. I didn't expect that. And so, for a while, my Twitter blew up, and that was kind of a fun experience. And I had people saying well, let us know. And I took a picture, and then all of a sudden the picture's on 9 to 5 Mac and the Apple post. And I was just it was really insane experience just for AirPods. I didn't realize that people would be that crazy about them, so I was really happy to get my hands on them.
I was very happy that you did too.
Yeah, so like just to go slightly off a little bit, people started running in the store when the doors opened. Like, we didn't get numbers or anything. They weren't expecting a queue, so they were just like, well, whatever, we're not going to address anyone. Like, I even like accosted an employee walk in. I was like, well, do you guys have stock? And she was like, well, I'm not sure if we have sellable stock. I was like, what does that even mean? And people on Twitter were like, what does that even mean? So yeah, it was so weird. And people were running in store because there weren't any numbers, and like, you're just grabbing them off the shelf. And I was like, well, tweeting, people ran in store and just jokingly said, like, including me. Just like really a joke I thought like was between you and Michelle and anyone else who follows me for my Apple stuff. And then, I had like some people being like, well, did you really give in to that? And I was like, whoa, this is way more.
The way I pictured it as you're describing it was like people throwing stools through glass windows and stuff. Like,
man, it was almost like that.
Yeah, like apocalypse style. Like,
yeah, it was pretty much like that. And you just grab them and trying to find your way to an Apple employee to get them to help you out. So yeah, anyway, that was fun. A good experience being first in line. I don't think I'll do it again. And so the features of the AirPods, they have the W1 chip, for pairing, which really sets them apart and is the biggest draw card to them. It features iCloud integration. So you're able to easily switch between your devices. Like the output from those devices. All you have to do is click AirPods as the output method in the little AirPlay tab of Control Center. That's the only way I do it. Yeah. Yep. And then you're also able to keep only one in for single ear listening, and it features the Siri double tap. So
and these are all things like that people don't realize. People see Apple AirPods and it's like the price tag, and they don't get it. They literally just think, oh well, they've just cut the wires off. They don't realize all the stuff they've packed into it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it makes for such a good experience. Like, I can't explain. So I own the Power Beats 2 wireless earphones, and they don't feature the W1 chip. The Power Beats 3 do. And the version 2 is just like, the old standard Bluetooth style. If I ever wanted, to go for a run without my phone, then I'd have to like repair it with my phone. It was just with my watch, and it was just such a mission, and I never really liked using them. Whereas now I just, leave my phone in the car and just select the AirPods actually on the watch you don't need to select because it can't use its speaker. So it looks for them first. Yeah. So it's been really great. Yeah, that whole experience.
Cool. And yeah, so how was it when you unboxed it? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was immediately struck by the design of the case. It's plastic, but it feels really good in the hand. So like, yes, it looks like dental floss, but it's weighty and it feels premium. The little hinge looks awesome and has, in typical Apple fashion, perfectly weighted just to like flick it up. And then very easy to close again. Awesome. It kind of reminds me of a Zippo lighter.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, people have said that.
Yeah. Yes, the AirPods themselves, they visually look a lot like AirPods. They're a lot smaller than I expected.
Yes, okay.
I expected the stem to be quite thick, but it's only slightly thicker. They have like the typical Apple AirPod pretty white plastic. And they're really light,
yes,
super light, because the battery's tiny, right? So they're really light. They've got the little silver thing at the bottom of the stem, which connects to the charger. Really nice design.
And I like that. Like, it finishes it off. It's not just like literally just like chopped off, like that little bit of rounded silver.
Yeah, like some people cut their old AirPods.
Cut their AirPods.
Yeah, those for a while. It's not like that. It's better than that.
Yes.
Yeah. So far the connection's been really solid. I've only had one slight issue where I think like my body got in the way between my phone and the AirPods, and it was just like typical Bluetooth where it just bums out a little bit, but otherwise fine. And at work I'm able to go refill water without losing connection which is about 10 meters away. So
I'm interested to hear how's the battery life been going, because I think that's a big part of it that people want to know about.
So Apple claims 5 hours on the AirPods on a single charge, with more than 24 hours in the charging case or from the charging case. And 15 minutes of charging is equal to 3 hours of battery life. So in real world use, I generally listen for about an hour at a time and place them back in their case for 5 to 10 minutes while I go refill my water or, engage in conversation or whatever the case may be. And whenever I come back to them, they're at 100% charge. So I haven't had any issues with battery life. They're exactly as Apple states. And I started the day when I got them with 100% AirPods and the 60% on the case. And then by the end of the day, the case was at 36% and the AirPods at 100%. So perfect.
So I'll be interested to know, is the actual sound any better than AirPods?
I'm not an audiophile, and I've got this question a number of times, and I'm going to say yes. I think they are better than AirPods. I was straight off the bat struck that they are much louder than AirPods. But they're not distorted.
Yeah, that's good.
So, as I say, I'm not by no means an audiophile, but I really enjoy using them. It's quite a different experience without the wires, because you forget that you're wearing them. So it's kind of like this false sense that the music is just coming straight out of your brain, as Michelle described it, and so I think that's really true. So it kind of distorts your whole thought about what sound quality is, because you're not really aware that you're wearing them. So it's a surreal experience, but good.
Well, so now that like your partner's been around AirPods and she's seen them and she's heard all that you've had to say about them, is she actually interested in getting some herself? Or?
Yeah, funny enough, we were having that discussion today. She was really keen on the Beats X at first.
Yep.
But then she thought for some reason that they had no wires too, but they were just like in-ear versions of AirPods. She's really keen on the AirPods now, instead of the Beats X. So she'll be keen to get her hands on them probably in February when they become more available. It's not as like time pressure or time sensitive as I was about getting them.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty cool. I'm definitely loving the fact that we're getting all this this real positive vibe about AirPods. It really could have gone one of two ways, and I'm glad that it seems to be that the vast majority of people are really getting into them.
Yeah. So some other notes that I had on them is I had run into the charging and listening at the same time issue with my iPhone 7 Plus.
Yeah, okay.
So now on my AirPods, luckily I'm able to do both at the same time. And I guess on a more serious note, I'm really enjoying these earphones. I've been craving a Siri speaker for a while, and anyone who listens to this will know how I feel about like that sort of AI speaker. And the AirPods are almost that in your ears. So it's not like the home style speaker, but you've got instant access to Siri, which I must tell everyone, hello Siri, on my Apple Watch now works again. So I was able to fix that, which was a really big pain for me. I really am so glad that that's fixed. So I've always found AirPods comfortable. But for those who haven't and suspect that you won't like AirPods, try them in store. And especially because the lack of the wires tugging on them makes them more comfortable. Yeah,
some people described it, maybe they feel more comfortable as well, or they don't fall out because they're actually sitting at a slightly different angle, because like the wires would actually pull them on a bit of a, like having wires sets AirPods on a certain angle that they're a bit more prone to falling out, or they feel that little bit more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was definitely like, my younger brother's very skeptical about, when I was telling him about AirPods and stuff, he's like, oh, they'll fall out. I'm like, well, it seems to be most people think that they're not falling out and they feel quite good. So, definitely, as Nick said, take his advice and go try some out.
Yeah, I've run 10 kilometers in them and they haven't even moved a muscle. So they are really solid in my ears anyway, and even for working out. So that's pretty cool. And call quality too. I've had some mixed feedback from people that I've been on the calls with, but that I think is more to do with cell reception in the train station. So, and just it being a generally loud environment. So I don't know. I haven't tested them out in a quiet environment.
Yeah. Well, there you go. AirPods from the original first in line.
Yep.
Nick, he was right there. He did it. This is like, I'm so stoked that it happened, and the whole in-store running environment, mental picture that I'm seeing is just insane. It sounds like I always picture it like you're fighting off like hordes of zombies or something.
Yep.
So
that's pretty much it. Spot on.
And that's what you do for a pair of AirPods. Okay, so we're going to just switch up to something also with recent technology. Obviously, everyone knows I have the MacBook Pro Touch Bar. I've been hanging out for programs I use to get support Photoshop, as shown in the demonstration. Finally released the update with Touch Bar. So being holidays, I've actually only really had a chance to have a bit of a play with it, but I'm definitely going to use it more now that I'll be back at work next week. The Touch Bar support on this is quite comprehensive and it's very customizable, so that's big tick there. So yeah, there's three primary modes that you can switch between. So basically you have layer properties, brushes, and favorites. So within layer properties, you have, touch bar buttons for add content, layer opacity, blend mode, which is a big one for me. Toggle mask, also a big one. Select mask, and the history scrubber, which is great. It actually shows up the different states of the different moves that you've done in a Photoshop document, and you can scrub left and right with them, like you can with video and photos and stuff, which works really well. Brushes, there's a color symbol. You press the color symbol and you've got the selected color on the left. And then you have three different sliders, and whatever slider is active, it takes up about 70% of the width of the touch bar. So it's quite generous in size. Now these different sliders are gradient for general selecting color, saturation and darkness sliders. These are very awesome to use, and you can switch any of these sliders out for like the actual Photoshop swatches. So yeah, this is what they showed in the demo, where she's changing the color with the brush as she's brushing. So using the trackpad and the touch bar at the same time. I tried it out. It feels really unique. It feels amazing. Definitely can't wait to start using it in real life situation. And of course, being brushes, you have slider controls for the brush size, the hardness, opacity, and flow. So this is just so handy to have it right there on the touch bar rather than having to find it up in the menu or one of the palettes. So the third part to this is favorites. So you can just map whatever shortcuts that you want, but the ones by default are full screen, which is probably why the actual native macOS full screen doesn't work on this version of Photoshop. There's flip controls and there's new layer. So you can customize any of these to have other controls in it, such as duplicate layer, step forward, step back, and fill. So yeah, I mean, I've just had a quick play around with it. Definitely keen to get more into it. So features, yeah, as I said, a lot of common use tools that just brought it into one easy access area. When used in conjunction with trackpad, it is absolutely brilliant. This is what Touch Bar is all about. Nick knows that I got particularly excited about the Photoshop part of it in the presentation. And I really hope Adobe roll out other updates for their other Creative Cloud apps, particularly Illustrator and InDesign, which is big ones for me. So yeah, bit of exciting progression.
Happy to hear that it's been a good experience for you. And
yeah, definitely.
And justifies looking for the touch bar in your workflow. So that's really good to hear from a true pro point of view.
Yeah. The actual, we know about the whole contention with the pro moniker or not, but
well, at least the creative pro.
Yes, yeah, it's this is what it's made for. Very handy if you're running the latest version of Photoshop. Do the update. If you have the touch bar, you won't be disappointed. So yeah, we've covered Apple adverts before in this section that we call Appleverts. So there was a recent series of ads for the Nike Plus featuring the comedian Kevin Hart. So the series of ads was called The Man Who Kept Running, and they're actually uploaded to the Nike YouTube channel, not Apple. So what are these all about? I mean, Kevin Hart's a comedian, so how does this tie in?
Yeah, so these are, I think, quite funny ads. So basically, all on the Nike YouTube channel. So the initial one is around a minute 30 seconds, and it begins with some really low quality footage. It looks like it's being live streamed from his iPhone kind of thing.
Yes,
And it's very, authentic. So he announces that he's got the Nike Plus Apple Watch, quick side note, like I always say the Nike Plus Apple Watch, which kind of puts Nike's branding first. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be happy with people doing that, though. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Apple Watch Nike Plus.
Watch Nike Plus. Yeah.
Anyway.
I think that's how he says it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's how he says it, but...
Yes,
Anyway, side note. So, Kevin Hart says, running is about to get amazingly active, which is one of the most hilarious lines ever, because it's always been amazingly active. So, like one of my friends, when she found out that Apple's Series 2 was going to have a GPS and also be really good for swimming, she had heard some rumor that Apple said that they reinvented running or reinvented swimming, and it was just like, this is basically running about to get amazingly active. And meanwhile, they'd obviously never said that, but yes, typical.
Yeah.
So then it comes up with a little thing that he got like his Apple Watch in October. On a side note, it's the Volt one, which it's Space Gray and Volt, which mine is Space Gray and Cool Gray, I think it's called on their side. But I was disappointed that he had the Volt one. Anyway, it says, next day vanished. Months later, a film crew found him in a desert 700 miles from home. So it's definitely like a bit of it's a really funny series, and he's in his running gear where he's grown this massive beard. It's very funny. It's clear it's meant to be funny.
Yeah, like considering how it starts, you're kind of like, oh, as soon as you know it's Kevin Hart, I'm like, well, they got to tie comedy into it. And then I was like, okay, maybe it's just some sort of little self-video diary, and then it just switches to this pro shot footage and says the 700 miles from home. I'm like, yep, we're going to get some laughs. And
so there's a huge focus in this ad and the whole ad series on the Are We Running Today prompt that you get with the Nike Run Club app, which, on a side note, has been a little bit buggy for me. And the joke is that he's taken answering yes to the extreme. It just basically keeps on running and running and running. And he busts out of his tent and laughs like he's deluded. And there's a wolf throughout the whole series too. And he's running with the wolf. I just find it so funny. And then finishes with the campfire and Nike shoes and the watch.
Yeah, good branding.
Yeah, which is just grabbed as the wolf howls. So it's followed by 6 ads, and they end in the same campfire shot. So there's wisdom, which focuses on the GPS feature, and he's like, there's wisdom in my watch with its GPS, and wisdom in the rocks, and I still have my wisdom teeth, which that was I think that was my favorite one.
He really plays on that whole like stuck out in the desert, and you just start going delirious.
Oh yeah, it's clear.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's also a halfway point, which like it's a progress prompt. So the Nike Run Club app always says like halfway point and then tells you your stats or whatever. And that was like at the end of a cliff. So I just wondered, like then he turned around. So where does his route end?
Yeah, because he's saying he's like, I go north, and then I go north with a little bit of south, and then I go east. And it's just
it was hilarious. It's like
he's on this endless run. It's like he doesn't have any set route. So
then he's talking to Vulture about his New Year's resolutions, and then he gets like the prompt to start running and says like, I'd love to carry on talking, and runs away. Because
I saw that it had like the actual words had little like streamers and stuff around it. Is that some sort of celebration animation? If you look at the still,
I didn't notice the actual. I have to.
Yeah, because the color is different. It's like gold, and it's got like little streamers coming off of it. So
I think that might have to do with like if you in the lead compared to your friends, or if you've got a streak. I'll check that out. But I don't have
that's cool.
Like anyone else on my Nike Plus app that has the Apple Watch. So yeah, I'll have to check that around. And then there's There's one which I've actually used this exact use case. Like I've used quite a few of the use cases, like the halfway point one. And what's really cool is even if you don't have earphones paired, it will just use the watch speaker, which is really cool. One day I didn't feel like pairing my Beats, and it played out of my watch speaker, which was pretty cool. So anyway, this one focuses on like the "Are we running today?" prompt. Like when you schedule a reminder and you tell it what time you're going to run, it also has the weather next to the time. So I've used this quite a bit to actually try and run at the cooler times of the day. And so he was like, today is 120 degrees, obviously Fahrenheit, but at 4:30 it'll be 119. So I'm going to go running then. It's like, it's just so funny because it's only 1 degree difference, obviously. So yeah.
That was a good one.
There's another one where he's like, it's about competition, focused on the competition aspect. And he's like, oh, this is all about me and my self-growth and all of that. And then he's like, gets a notification that Mo Farah, the British long distance runner who, I really admire, such a great guy. Is like,
I actually didn't know who it was, to be honest. I had to look it up. Yeah.
Oh, he's amazing. He defended his, 5 and 10K, Olympic championship.
Yeah. Wow.
Medals, and he fell in, I think it was in the 10K, he got tripped the defending one, so at Rio 2016, and he like actually got up and still won the race. So that was amazing, and he's a really cool guy.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
Yeah, he was 3 miles ahead of Kevin Hart, and then so he's like carrying on about how it's a personal journey, and then gets a notification that Mo Farah is ahead. He's like, gotta go, and then goes on his run.
And yeah, the last one was fist bump. So this is sort of saying the messages for motivation between people using the Nike Run Club app. So what happens is Mo Farah sends Kevin a fist bump and says, thanks, thank him for the inspiration to get up and get running. And then Kevin starts going crazy over fist bump, and he's just like, fist bump, fist bump. He's literally starting to he's like punching his phone and fist bumping the air and like busts out his tent. He's like, fist bump. And he's just like, yeah, he just starts going insane, saying fist bump pretty much. But it's cool because it carries on the Mo Farah part of it.
Yeah. So what were your overall thoughts on this series?
Yeah, I think at first I was like, because I find Kevin Hart funny, but he's not like the funniest guy sort of thing, like for the type of humor that I like. And so at first I was like, oh, this is, yeah, it's kind of funny. But once I watched the whole series, I then rewatched them all. And yeah, I definitely love what they're doing here, and love the actual production, like the desert shots and the aerial shots, and the slow-mo with the wolf and that's amazing. But yeah, the ending shot with the campfire and then the Nike shoes right there, and the wolf howls and he grabs his watch, kind of like the wolf is prompting him for a run. I love that sort of thing. So yeah, it's definitely Apple products, the ads they've created themselves, and then these Nike ones, they're increasingly becoming more and more diverse, the actual style of them. So I love that they've kind of created this series with someone that's well known enough. So yeah, good injection of comedy.
Before we move on, I'd just like to say that, keeping in mind that these are ads, the only one that actually made me want to buy one, yes, I already own one, but the only one that actually made me want to buy one was the New Year's resolution one. Kind of like painted the whole picture of why it makes sense to actually go out and buy one, rather than just being funny. It was like, you have a New Year's resolution, this is going to help you with your New Year's resolution, get it? Like, that was the only time in the series that I actually felt like they marketed it as a, well, you need to buy this kind of thing. So
yeah, I think that was the hard thing, is as much as I like the ads, I have this series one, I'm not the type of person would want to buy the Nike Plus, as cool as I think it is. It's just like for a slightly different demographic. So, yeah, I wasn't really sitting there looking for the sales pool, the bit that made me want to buy it. But it's definitely interesting that you picked out that one. So, big one, Super Mario Run. Everyone, you would have seen it was advertised just absolutely everywhere, over social media and everything. People know from previous episodes, I'm got big nostalgia for Nintendo, big Nintendo fan, particularly with Mario. And then to have that and Apple together is just absolute dream come true. So yeah, the launch day came out. Everyone had the get notified, and I think the vast majority of people did not get notified. That was I don't know what happened there, but
I also had to
press. Did you get a notification?
No,
or?
I got one like a week later or 2 weeks later, but I also didn't get. I also had to press the notify button a number of times.
Yeah, it never changed. Like you'd say notify, and then you'd go back in, and then it was still there. Like you weren't sure.
Yeah.
Because I'd done it a few times too as well. But anyway, as you said, like yourself, some got a delayed notification way later. The actual download itself was around 120 megabytes, which seemed quite light for a game kind of this level. But once you launch the app, you see the intro, there's another download. So that's kind of like the second part of it, I guess, maybe the levels or something, I'm not sure. Okay, so the actual graphics and the interface, this looks great on Retina. It looks just like new Super Mario Bros., the game that you'd get on consoles such as Wii and Wii U. So I've definitely played those games, so I was immediately familiar with the style. Now, in Portrait on mobile, I haven't actually played the iPad version, just the iPhone version, has a static image at the bottom. So this is actually good in the sense that naturally these sorts of games are in a landscape format. So by adding that bit of image at the bottom, that's where you can do all your tapping. So you can't actually get your thumb in the way of what's happening. I think 80% of the interface, like the menus and stuff, looks good. It ties in with the Mario theme, but there's some stuff like yes and no buttons and some menu elements that look quite outdated. They look like something from when the first Nintendo Wii came out, like 2006 and stuff. So yeah, I kind of just had to look past that. But the actual game itself is split into a few modes. There's World Tour that has 24 levels. There's Toad Rally where you can verse the performances of other players. So not actually players directly, but their performances in Toad Rally. There's Friendly Run, so you can do the same. It's like Toad Rally, but you can actually select the friend's performance to verse against. And there's Kingdom Builder, so you use your coins that you get in the game to buy items and you place them around your castle, that sort of thing. So how is it to play? I think that they've nailed this one-handed playback. There's heaps of stuff like endless runners and stuff, but this, I just found it really fluid, really smooth. And even the fact that he's constantly running, I picked it up quite quickly. Being a big Mario fan, I kind of like took to it really easily. So you played the install demo. Did you actually download or purchase the full game? And you were sort of telling me that your partner didn't quite like it.
Yeah, so I did download it. I played it in store very quickly, and I was like, well, that's kind of a bit more challenging than I thought it would be. And challenging to do it properly. Like, you can get to the end easily, and you've said this before, but that's not the point of the game. So anyway, I did download it. I still have it on my second page of apps and don't really play it.
Did you just download it? Did you buy it, or did you just play the first few levels?
Yeah, I've just played the first few levels, so neither Michelle or I have bought it. And yeah, Michelle's feedback was that she just says it's not the same as like bringing back that whole playing it on Nintendo, as a kid, when we are all like 6 years old. It's just not that feeling, and I'm in agreement.
So is she comparing it to like the look of Super Nintendo and stuff like that?
Yeah, and just like that whole experience, just like going, I guess it's more of her, like you'd have to have her on, I guess, to have the whole view. She's just like, it's not the same, I guess, is what she says.
It was just interesting because I kind of I assumed that everyone had been kind of following Mario because the look of Mario has progressed.
Yeah.
And the one called New Super Mario Brothers looks just like this.
Yeah.
It being a side scroll, because there's platformers such as Super Mario 64 and Galaxy and that, which are obviously quite different, but this is how the side scrolling ones look. They're not like the Super Nintendo one looks different.
I think it's more of like the gameplay than the actual like look and feel. I think it's more like just the gameplay rather than, I suppose, the look.
Yeah, and that's obviously a big part of it. You're constantly running. You can't go back unless you're using stuff like bubbles or like kicking off of walls. That's the challenge of it. So yeah, unfortunately I had big fingers crossed that I wanted it to go really well for Nintendo. Unfortunately, there seemed to be a lot of backlash. It turns out of all the millions of downloads, only 3% of that are people that paid for the full game, which is not entirely surprising given the price of $14.99, but it's disappointing for me. So kind of despite all the advertising they did and the hype, I still think that people, there's obviously a lot of people that didn't watch, say the Apple event and stuff like that, and they didn't realize, you get the first few levels free, then you pay one cost for the whole rest of the game.
Do you think it deserves the backlash for the price? Yeah, well, I guess we'll get into that, but yeah.
I'll specify that in a bit, but just before that, I mean, as I said, I was speaking to my younger brother. He came down from Perth, and he's got a 3DS, and he's got different games of Mario on that. And I was like, yeah, Super Mario Run. He's like, yeah, it sucks. And I was like, what? Immediately, on the defensive about it because I've been so excited for this. And he's like, I just played the first few levels and then I had to pay for it. And he's like, oh, and, groan. And I think that's the perspective of a lot of people. A lot of people aren't pay for games. There's a lot of people that just play free games, right? And if people actually pay for games, they're usually maybe expecting a $2.99 up to $4.99 price level. So I think that, people going in just thinking it'll be that price level, that would be a big reason as to why only 3% bought the whole game. So, just before I get into as to whether I think it's worth it or not, how do you actually think the launch went? Because, as I said, there's a lot of hype behind it.
Yeah, I think it was overhyped, really. Keeping in mind that it had all of Apple's App Store banners on the top. It was promoted heavily by them and Nintendo, and so I think the hype was just too high. And really anything, even a successful launch, was going to be a letdown.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think we're kind of used to seeing that in the Apple world, really, aren't we? It's kind of iPhone 7 is going to have this projector screen and be, I don't know, a hologram, and it's just be realistic and yes. Yeah, so that's kind of, it was overhyped, but it's probably in isolation a really good game.
I guess on a side note with that, in terms of long-awaited things, I am glad that AirPods finally came out and they went well, considering there was that months of waiting and not knowing.
Yeah.
Because that really could have been a big hype up, and then, but that's a bit different because the marketing for it was far less aggressive because they didn't really have a set date until the last minute.
Yeah.
So anyway, with Super Mario Run, is it worth $14.99? Okay, I think yes. Obviously, there's a little bit of bias because I'm a big Mario fan, but before I get into why, here are some reasons why you may think that no, it's not worth the price. So if you're looking for a console-type Mario game, so not permanent runner, kind of like what Michelle's describing, be able to go back and forth anywhere you want, how people remember and play side-scrolling Mario games. If you're looking for that, you only sort of partially get it. For extremely casual mobile gamers, it's not really the game for you, because Mario Run, it can be played anywhere, on a train and stuff, as they say, obviously depending on internet connection, but it does require a medium or maybe higher level of concentration, depending on if you're getting special coins and stuff. And not worth the price if you're expecting a full Mario game for $4.99. So I do think that's a big part of it. I think people still think the price is too high. I think $14.99 is worth it, but I think that's the ceiling. That's the max that they could have gone. And if you play this game just for passing levels, then no, it's not worth it, because the completion is easy. The bosses, if you base it just on that, it's probably the easiest Mario game, just to get to the end. And even the final Bowser at the end, which is typically, as you'd expect, meant to be a challenging level, that's actually relatively easy. So reasons I think, yes, that it is actually worth it. So, as I said before, I'm a long-time Nintendo Mario fan. I think the IP itself justifies a Highland Standard app cost. I mean, Mario's existed for years, is huge, and this is a big step into mobile gaming. And if you compare it to Pokemon Go, which is kind of just a Niantic game with a Pokemon theme on it, it's a lot different. Pokemon Go doesn't feel like and it isn't a fully genuine Pokemon game, whereas this is kind of far more closer to a genuine Mario game and the genuine IP. So the special coins is where the replay value comes into it. You kind of have to think and act fast and creatively to reach pink or purple or black special coins, because you're constantly running to the right and you have to collect them all in one go. So that's where the difficulty comes in. And now I've nearly collected them all, so I'm pretty stoked with that. And you use stuff like bubbles to reverse, to go back in the level. You go use that to your advantage. And each level actually varies depending on the color of the coin. So they get harder to reach and stuff. So it's not like the level's exactly the same. It kind of changes a bit. Toad Rally, the competition is fun and addictive if you're on a winning streak. There's stuff like unlockable characters like Luigi and that, which is a good bonus. And Kingdom Builder, it's not a big draw card for me, but it's great for people that completionists that want to buy everything in the store and set it out. So yeah, they're sort of the reasons why I think it's worth the price. I kind of think, what can they add to the game? Now, Nick, you said that Nintendo announced that they ruled out adding more levels.
Yep. So they said that like kind of the world as it is now is how it stays.
Yeah, and so I was kind of thinking about it. I thought, well, what could they do to update or expand or, increase the longevity of it? Playing against friends directly. So not just playing against a recorded performance that they've done, but playing against them one-on-one. They really need that. That'd be like a big plus. A cooperative play mode. I don't know if they'd be able to pull that off on mobile, but that would be amazing. And so, yeah, they said no more worlds for Super Mario Run, but they could add another level of special coin, an even harder one, just to each of the levels. That'd be cool. So, yeah, this is Nintendo's big foray into iOS. I'm thinking they have announced that they'll be releasing, I think it's 4 or 5 games a year or something. If they release Mario Kart next, or maybe like a Donkey Kong run, that would be really cool. I'd be all over that, and I would definitely pay for that. So, yeah, given this kind of backlash on that, do you think this would have affected Nintendo's plans for more games, or do you think they're just going to keep steamrolling ahead with it?
No, I think they'll keep steamrolling ahead with it. I think they realize that the future is off their platform. Yeah, I think they'll learn from this and realize like what was successful is probably the pay once and not getting into the freemium thing, and what was unsuccessful, maybe the price and maybe the expectations. It's kind of, I will say that even at $14.99, I may not be willing to pay that, but that's not because it's $14.99. I wouldn't pay 99 cents for it because I don't enjoy it. But like, I think 14, and people complaining about the price at $14.99 are a bit delusional. It's kind of like just, it's 3 coffees, or it's not that much. Like, I know we live in a world where we just like have this free everything, where we expect everything to be free and now, but $15 is not, maybe if you don't have a job, then yeah, sure. I don't know.
The best way to look at it, and as I was saying to my brother, because he's like, I don't want to pay that. He had his 3DS in front of me with his game. I was like, well, how much did you pay for that Mario game and that 3DS? And the Mario game had cost him $60. Yep. And I know Super Mario Run is not as big a game as that, but it's a decently sized game, and it's definitely, yeah, like he would go out and pay $60 for that, and then not want to pay, $15 for a game that's got some good replay value to it. So I definitely think that's the best argument there for the price.
Exactly.
All right, so we're just going to finish off with some edible extras here. So Nick, what's happening at the end of January?
Yeah, so it'll be Apple's earnings call on the 31st of Jan. The earnings report will take a look at iPhone 7 and 7 Plus sales throughout the holiday quarter, as well as sales of the new MacBook Pro that was introduced in October. So we'll get a sense of how well those devices performed.
Cool.
Unlike previous years, Apple didn't outlay the success or lack of in the opening weekend of the iPhone 7, because they said that's just supply constraints would have meant that the numbers just wouldn't have been comparable. So in other words, they didn't make the 10 million that they sold last year for the opening weekend. So
yes.
Their guidance for the first quarter of fiscal 2017 includes the expected revenue, an expected revenue of $76 to $78 billion, and a gross margin between 38 and 38.5%. So they'll have a good handle, at least on the margin, which will lead to pretty decent profit. Based on Apple's estimates, Q1 of 2017 will mark Apple's return to growth following its first annual revenue decline since 2001. So that was a big news story last quarter. So this will see them back at growth, which will be good. I would say, like, for anyone interested in earnings, this is obviously their big quarter. I think Apple's looking for business that will make their revenue more steady throughout the year. So obviously things like Apple Music and other services make their revenue stream steady, whereas like things like their iPhone being released in September obviously see a spike in that quarter. So things like moving their iPads to March, services, and potential of a polar white / snow white, hopefully snow white iPhone will help them make that more regular. So yeah, that if you're interested in that, we could, always go into those kind of things. So if you are 31st of Jan, you can listen to the call, usually have a few nuggets of information where investors get to ask Tim Cook and the CFO some questions.
And this is the added bonus of having Nick as part of Apple Size. He's our numbers guy. So there you go. Man, that was a good episode. Loving it. Great start to the year. Got my watch. I'm stoked with it. You've got AirPods. It's a good start. Really keen for a March iPad event. We'll, as we mentioned before, we'll definitely let you know the progressions of that. And particularly a good one for Nick being the bigger iPad fan out of the two of us. So, yeah, man, it's good to have a chat. Bumper episode indeed. If anyone wants to keep up to date in between, you can follow Apple Size on Instagram and Facebook with Apple Size Podcast, on Twitter with @AppleSizeAU, and of course, we very much would love people to leave reviews and rate us on iTunes. All feedback is very welcome, very encouraging. So do not hesitate there. And yeah, just search Apple Size in your podcast app, Stitcher, TuneIn, or most other podcast players, and subscribe, and you'll get the episodes as they're released each fortnight. So there you go, man. Thanks for talking a diverse range of products there.
Yeah, it was awesome. Good having a chat, and I'm not going to say Happy New Year because I think the time has passed for everyone there. So
yes,
we'll spot you at the next episode.
Next episode, we're probably looking like we want to give some predictions of what will happen over 2017. So definitely stay tuned for that one in a couple of weeks. So yeah, great to have you on board again, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
Cheers.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.